Time to take it to the dirt. This is Slingin Dirt, 1 hour of dirt track talk. Now, here are Ashley and David Stremme.
Hello and welcome. It is Tuesday again, and it's time to talk about some late models, and so today, some big block modifieds. Joining us on this show today, we have Mike Marlar, a good friend of mine. He cut his schedule down at the end of last year and the beginning of this year. He was trying to focus on his business. He's back, and he is doing amazing things. Super excited to talk to him. We also have Dale McDowell joining us. He's a seasoned veteran, the master of dirt, I like to call him. He's also got a racing school, and he helps out Team Dillon Racing. And last but not least, another young gun. We're keeping with the scenario that we've been running these last few weeks. We have Tyler Dippel, who's 15 years old.
Yep.
As you like to call it, he runs a center steer car in New York. He runs a little bit of asphalt and stuff. He's finally healed up. He's been back in the car for about a month now, so we'll get to talk to him and how he went with the off season, so to speak, for these last 2 months while he's been sitting out. I am your host, Ashley Stremme, along with my husband, David. It's Tuesday, and it's time to talk about some late models and modifieds.
I was trying to find here, and I'm not having very good success, but we obviously, the North-South Shootout went on. Josh Rice had a really great run. Really proud of him. Dale McDowell, who we'll talk to, I felt like he had a really good run because he doesn't run a full season or series, I would say, but probably in Davenport, what can we say? He did a whale of a job. Again, congratulations to Kevin Rumley and him. And I read a little thing that Kevin's dad, Leroy, they had just built this brand new motor, never dynoed it, nothing, just went to racetrack. And I'm like, awesome. That's pretty cool. So, they're up over, I think, $350,000. They've won
$364, I believe.
They have Batesville coming up, the topless.
There's another $40,000 to pick up there.
I just love that. I feel, and I know Kevin and Jonathan, and I know a lot of the guys, but they've worked very hard at what they're doing, and so many people are spun out. And I do give credit to Bloomer because he said, hey, they're the guys to beat, and we got to go do our homework, and a lot of them are taking ass whoopings. Some are taking them better than the others, but he's doing very good, and he's gaining tons of fans, and I think Jonathan's still very grounded through this whole thing. He's just wanting to win, and we talk about the chemistry of all of them. So, but anyways, the one thing I had seen, and I was trying to pull up this video, but our friend Gene Leffler had the names. It was Chad Stapleton and Scott James. It was a crazy wreck in the last chance race. Guy went down, and there was another car involved, but tried doing a slide job, ended up wiping out these two, or actually I think it was Scott James that did the slide job on the other gentleman. That was kind of the meat in a sandwich. And got out through the steering wheel. You can go on Facebook and look. But it was really crazy. But to get in North-South Shootout, it was everything. There was a lot of guys that didn't make it in, but very successful. It was really cool. I was following Bob Dillner, and he hasn't been to a lot of the dirt late model races, but he's as Speed 51 is carrying more dirt coverage. It was really cool. He's like, man, this is awesome, and he's taking pictures, and I'm like, go to some more, Bob, because they're all like that, it seems like. But really cool to have that. And then I wanted to say tonight, for a lot of people that are in the Carolina area, they have the Shrine Race tonight at Carolina Speedway. A lot of people, I know Bob's brother Matt and Mike Herman Jr., a bunch of them, they go down there and tailgate early. And they wear all the old school apparel and stuff. Yeah. But it's really cool. They raise a lot of money. Pack the house. It's always good racing. I know we'll see Rambo Franklin and heck, I don't think Davenport will show up. I'm not sure, but
Fergie will be there though.
Ferguson will be there. I mean, there's gonna be a lot of super late model guys, and they have their Renegade cars, modifieds. Kyle Strickler, Matt Emmerling, Ryan Ayers, a bunch of them guys will be there. So
it's all for a good cause.
Yes, it is.
It's all for the Shriners, and they do it every year. I'm not sure. I remember Clint telling us once before what the deal was there, but I think everything goes to the Shriners.
They do.
It's all for a nonprofit.
Yep.
So
yeah, he basically gives them a track and says, "Hey, it's yours," and it's a 43rd
and
year that they've been doing
turnout,
it. So.
Huge turnout for a Tuesday race here in the Carolinas.
And then they have. I was talking to somebody, and they're going to have a Thursday night race, and I was like, "What do you mean Thursday night?" And I go, "Man, well, Thursday nights are great." Or Wednesday night it was. I think it's a big block guy. Might have been Matty Hearn. I don't remember. But anyways, I was looking at coming up. We're going to go to Boone Speedway, which we'll have next week. We'll have Brett Root on.
Okay.
And I was looking at that schedule.
Super
and I'm
Nationals.
like, yeah, the Super National. I'm like, man, there's like 5-6 days of racing. It's going to be crazy. So I'm kind of looking forward to that, but I'm a little bummed because the World 100 weekend was that weekend, and I have to go to work. We're not driving, but we're going to take care of a customer car. But anyways, we're busy and a lot of stuff going on. We had there's a lot of racing throughout the weekend from up in pretty much everywhere because I don't think the weather really had anything to do with it.
Yeah, we haven't talked about Mother Nature lately, which is a good thing. Jesse Stovall picked up 2 wins this weekend. Davenport, of course, Billy Moyer, Tyler Erb, Chad Thrash,
Back
if
up
you
here.
remember.
Billy Moyer has over 800
100
wins. 800 wins. I'm like, how does a guy even
and
count?
they're not even real sure, from what I understand.
Yeah. I mean,
First
he's
it was
not,
a little more than 800,
listen,
then it was a little less than 800, but I
Billy
guess when
Moyer
you get to a
is,
certain point, you quit counting.
in my asphalt background, I look at Dick Trickle has over 10,000, I think it was, or something crazy, over 1,000, or I don't know. Dick Trickle has won everything.
You just went from 10,000 to 1,000. Now,
It's
that's
something,
a big...
Listen, I'm telling a fishing story, but I will say, I need Kenny Wallace to back me up and clarify
Well, he's
it.
on Twitter right now.
But the Dick Trickle, and I look at Billy Moyer as a Dick Trickle because he races everywhere. He hangs out with the fans. I mean, he's just he was down. I think it was Louisiana where he had won, but it's crazy. 800 wins. I mean, that's a lot. That's a lot.
That's insane.
And I would like to know what his ratio. I mean, it's got to be like pretty much 40% of the races he's been in, he's won.
Well, and you figure that some years he probably didn't have any wins. I mean, drivers go through that every now and again, so it is very, very impressive. But Chad Thrash, I mentioned him last week because his name was super cool. He picked up another win this weekend, and another awesome name to go along with it. Montana Dudley picked up.
Montana Dudley? Where'd he win at?
I forget. It was down south somewhere.
Down south. You just liked his name.
I did. I think it's so cool. If you have children, you need to give them cool racing names.
I do know Tyler Nicely, little Mojo is still going. He won at Putnamville, Lincoln Park Speedway there in Indiana. I see Mike Harrison won. He won at Tri-City or I call it Granite City, but Gundaker's track over there. I mean, there's been a lot of guys, but the best, I love seeing Josh Rice run good. It was at his home track.
We gave him some mojo.
He was, I think you're going to hear a lot about him.
Absolutely.
Same with, that's why I like having Tyler Dippel on the show. He about won, the big block portion of the dirt car world finals. And I was watching him. I mean, he run that top. It was crazy, of how he'd run that car. And then obviously Danny Johnson won. But speaking of big block cars, I want to give a hats off. And Mike Hillman Sr., he got inducted into the Hall of Fame, which I thought was really cool because, I've drove for Mike a few times and always talk about big block cars. And he'd tell me about him. And I think it was Alan Johnson was a guy who they would always go sleep in the truck, racing, doing everything. So
we'll have to catch back up with Mike because I know he had spoke since this is possibly going to be the last Syracuse race of maybe fielding a car. So we'll have to get back with him.
Time's running out, though. He better get going here. But he's got his plate full. The other was, and I love seeing the success. And look, I'm a Donnie Schatz fan, and Wing Nation will be on next, so you can hear a lot about the wing stuff. But I got to look at Shane Stewart and Justin Marks and his team and what they've done because Shane, he changed crew chiefs. They kind of all have come together. They don't really look at it as it rolls, and he's on a tear. And obviously it's Knoxville week, so they got a lot going on. So you can stay tuned to Wing Nation, and they'll have a lot of coverage from out there.
And speaking of Knoxville, the dirt late models will be out there in September, so we'll be talking about Knoxville as well here in a few weeks.
Since I can't make it to War 100, I'm going to try to go because we always hear our people that we're interviewing and talking to guests on the show. They're like, "Hey, so what do you think, Eldora, Knoxville?" Or really, we just ask them what's the favorite place to go to, and
those are the
I'm
two you always
surprised
hear.
Knoxville is always on there. So
I think it's just so prestigious. But a couple more shout outs. Craig Von Doren, he won the 10,000 big block mod for the Rogers Memorial. Billy Pouch picked up his first win at New Egypt this weekend. Of course, Shepard, Jason Hughes, he picked up a win this weekend as part of the Casey's Hunt that's going on right now. But fun fact.
I was gonna give a fun fact, but go ahead.
Well, go ahead.
No, I want to
All
hear
right.
yours.
Mine's not really probably as fun as yours, but next year, the center steer mods, the big block mods.
You got to call them big block mods.
Well, that's what
But
you call
anyways,
them,
go
so
on.
I want you to understand what I'm talking about. The big block mods are going to have a body change for
Really?
2016.
What are they doing?
They're in discussions right now. They've had several of the chassis builders in, and I guess
Wow.
they've come to an agreement, and I guess a different spoiler and some other stuff's going to happen. But they want the big blocks and the 358s to look different than the Sportsmans.
They do need that. I hate when I was just talking to Dave from Bulldog.
Dave Ely.
Dave Ely, and he was like, man, I go up to look at a track, and they got Econo crates, 305 late models, crate late models, super late models. He's like, I can't tell a difference. And I'm kind of the same way. I'm like, man, you got to have a difference of look and doing stuff. Anyways, real quick before we get Mike on here and we take a break, fun fact, we had our 50th win.
We did.
As Lethal
Don't
Chassis.
get
I gotta
choked up.
give
Don't
no,
get
I gotta
choked
give
up.
a little shout out. It was Dan Davies, who is Shane Clanton's brother-in-law, and he won up at Sharon Speedway. But anyways, then we hit 51 with David Taylor down at Fayetteville, so it was really cool.
I mean, Dan was actually the one who picked up the 50th win, but we would have never got to 50 with several of our other drivers who have won, several races this year. So
And
thank you to everybody in the Lethal camp for supporting us.
I didn't know it until you had said something, but I was like, wow, that's pretty impressive because we haven't even been in business probably 10 months. And anyways, enough of the plug, but we want to talk to Mike here. I want to learn more of why he took time off, and
Absolutely.
he's come back as very strong.
Yeah. We'll be back to talk to Mike Marlar and Dale McDowell. Don't go anywhere. You're listening to Slingin Dirt on MRN.com.
Slingin Dirt returns in 1 minute on MRN.com.
There's a more economical way to travel, and that's with a Tom Johnson Camping World RV. Whether you're heading for excitement at the track or serenity in the mountains, get there for less and you can go more often. Find the RV that fits your lifestyle and your budget from anywhere in the country at TomJohnsonCamping.com. With available nationwide delivery and one of the largest inventories in the country. Check out our locations in the Blue Ridge Mountains, at the Charlotte Motor Speedway, or online at TomJohnsonCamping.com.
Victory Junction was young race driver Adam Petty's dream. He worked toward building a camp where children with serious medical conditions could concentrate on fun and not their illness or disease. When he died tragically, his family and friends around NASCAR made sure that dream came true. Today, Victory Junction is a camp that provides fun, life-changing experiences to children dealing with illnesses and disabilities, all at no cost to the camper. Help us serve more children by visiting victoryjunction.org.
This is Slingin Dirt on MRN.com. Now back to Ashley and David Stremme.
This is Slingin Dirt with the Stremmes. Our next guest, I am super excited to talk to. I've known his wife for 10 plus years, a longtime friend, and you truly can't find a nicer guy in the pits, and he's doing remarkable things right now. Joining us, it's Mike Marlar. Welcome to the show, Mike.
Hey guys, glad to be on.
So, Mike, I'm super excited for what you have going on, but I want you to kind of tell our listeners why, where, and what. I know you've taken some time off. I think you were building your business, but really give us the down low on what's happened these last 8 months.
Oh, well, we, I guess I started racing when I was a kid and 17 years old when I started, and just ever so often you kind of got to look up and look around a little bit because it really takes so much focus and so much time to be competitive at this stuff. And so every few years, I've looked up and looked around and kind of set some new goals for my personal life too, and just kind of was time to do that. And thought it would take, didn't know how long it would take, but been very fortunate that we kind of had some nice things happen in the last 8 or 9 months that have made us able to turn around and look over here at racing and say, oh yeah, we're ready to go again. So I've done that probably a couple of times in my career, and just helps. I don't know, just a way of thinking, but it seems to help get you rebooted and ready to go for your next run at it.
Mike, this is David, and it was probably 4 or 5 years ago. Ashley and I were going to dirt tracks and stuff, and she's like, oh, yeah, hey, I know this guy over here, his wife, and she's telling me the whole story anyways. And it was very easy to follow you because of your number, the 157. Where did that come from?
Well, when I started racing, my dad was number 57, and I finally conned him in to let me race a little bit. So he helped me get going there, and I raced street stocks and stuff there for a few years, and I got a UMP modified, and we got to going to some big races. And my first guy that I just stayed around local, I was number 57, just like my dad was, you know. And as I started going to some big races, I remember went out to Texas and raced a 15,000 show, and there was like, there was 150 or 200 cars at that one. But the first couple I went to, there was a lot of cars, and I was like, man, I'm up there looking at the lineup board, and they'd be 10 heat races, and I'd be one of there'd be 200 or 357s maybe. So I said, I got to get me in that was unique. So I changed over to 157. That way, ain't no mistake in that, and I can't get mixed up and get in the wrong heat or do something dumb. So that was really just a logic thing. My dad was 57, and I wanted to get something a little bit more unique than that. So that's how we come about it.
That's awesome. I know it's been easy for me to follow because there's not a lot of 3-digit numbers in a late model. So, and that's something that I look at, you know, and Ashley told me a little bit of the story of, hey, because I hadn't seen you in a while and what you were doing, but to come back and you've been very, very competitive, what do you give the credit to? Was it the time off, just kind of clear your head, or just regroup of getting your equipment better, or what was it?
Racing's, I don't think it's like riding a bicycle. I don't think you forget how to do it, but you got to have good equipment. I think anybody can step away for, a period of time. And, yeah, they're going to be a little rusty, but generally, I wouldn't see – I guess I could see somebody that's at the top level of racing stepping away, or just like Kyle Busch did with the NASCAR stuff. You'd never know he was even out. He's probably better for even being out, probably. But anyway, we just needed to get away and kind of refocus, and it's been a big deal. It's helped a lot, and got good equipment to come back to. That's the main thing. We've come back and kind of ran some of our older stuff, and then we actually just got us a new car, and things are really looking up at this point.
So you're back on the road. I know you went to the north-south. You've been kind of traveling a little bit more, too. Is that something we're going to continue to see? Are we going to be jumping back on a tour anytime soon?
I've never actually gotten an opportunity to run a tour. We've always just kind of ran that Billy Moyer type schedule where whatever pays the best and makes the most sense, but you still would rather go to a big race as a lot of times we don't do the most financially sensible thing because we want to go race the best guys, But yeah, we're going to race the rest of the year pretty hard, and if our team got a little more help, probably sponsorship wise, we would jump in there and maybe do a Lucas or something that deal someday. But just a lot's got to happen to make that happen. But yeah, we plan on traveling the rest of the season and going to all these big races, and really from pretty much July on through, I think, when all the good stuff happens anyway. So it's worked out nice.
I love it because it's just been, your hiatus there, and when you come back and you come back as strong as you did, especially mid-season like you did, I think that really speaks miles for itself. And David's favorite race, the turkey race, he calls it the Butterball. It's your third or fourth win at the Butterball now?
It's I think my third.
That's phenomenal.
They're going to rename that after you here pretty soon. Hey, with you being out and coming back, what's one of the biggest differences you've seen or a change that you were kind of surprised at?
Last year, Bloomquist, he had some pretty trick stuff on his card. He dominated at the end of last fall, and then over the winter, we're all kind of like, well, they're making rules against all that, so there was really no need in anybody really focusing much on it. Well, then they've come out this year, and Kevin and Jonathan Davenport and those guys, they've just been on fire, man. I probably have never in my 17, 18 years of racing here, 20 years, I've never seen anybody be so dominant or so hard to beat. And I've seen it happen because of talent. I know back when I ran modifieds, when I first started running modifieds, Jimmy Owens was like, he would win. I mean, I know one year he won like 58 races.
Yeah.
And but that was just kind of a talent thing. He's just really good. And And now these guys, Johnson is talented, but also their car is just phenomenal. And so that's one thing I'm seeing that has never probably ever been done before. Somebody be that dominant.
Do you think there's a lot of? Do you think in the dirt world? Because as I'm listening here, do you think there's a lot more? There's like technology changing and it's affecting as far as like setups and doing stuff. Do you think that's what's kind of going on? There's a evolution change, I guess you would say, in the dirt late model world.
Yeah, sadly the driving's going out of it, and the series that's making the rules, they just don't get it. They just ain't. They don't see that, and that's what I think why NASCAR's got where it's gotten, because and I'm not on the inner circle of NASCAR to know really, but it looks to me like they do everything they can to make sure that everybody out there's got an equal race car. And and I know they don't. I know these guys get on runs, and they got good teams in NASCAR just the same. But everybody there's got a truck arm. Everybody's got one shot per wheel. They got some really specific rules that dirt races don't have. And I think it's cool that we can do anything we want to do, but it's going to weed a lot of people out, and I hate to see that part.
I think, and that's something that as I look at it, people all the time ask me, why don't you go run late models? I'm like, I like the modifieds because I still believe that the driver plays a pretty big part. And in dirt late models it does too, but I watch and I go, man, if you're off just a spring or a bump stop or tire selection, you're in trouble, And I would say the competition is so great. Like I look at, and I know Kevin and Jonathan, and I think Kevin his way of thinking is just different. And he's able to utilize tools that are there. And I think when it comes to the sport, it's kind of like it's good to have where you can have people can think outside the box. But the thing is what's the good direction of the overall for the sport, of it. And I think that's like what you're saying when you look at stuff and things get going. But, I mean, we've seen it in many other sports a lot where people get on big rolls and they found a little bit of an advantage. But kind of how I look at it as an outsider and get your opinion on it, it's like you touched on Bloomer. Man, he was unstoppable, it seemed like last year. And then they kind of, hey, we're going to do this. It's always like somebody different on top, wouldn't you say?
Yeah, it is. The stuff, Scott was doing was, I don't think was actually legal to do, but he just kind of come in and found a
gray
area to do it, and he got by with it. And I think what Kevin has figured out, Rumley, is that, or Jonathan, or whoever's come up with that deal, is basically a legal way to do that. But in dirt late model racing, I mean, the sky's the limit. I mean, you do whatever you want to do. You can have the biggest motor you want, or any whatever you want. You can do it.
Yeah.
And but it's so competitive that it's so competitive that it regulates itself. Because you show up on one of these races and there's 60 cars there and there's 40 of them that can win or 30 of them that can win, you're over there messing around with some new gadget and don't even make the show. So that keeps a lot of people honest and keeps them from testing or trying much.
What chassis are you with?
I've run Rocket for a long time, and I just got a Capital that Marshall Green down in Georgia makes.
Yep.
Same thing that Shane Clanton's running.
Yeah. So do you think, because when I look at, and I hear you, you got to be all up on your technical stuff. And I was at Fayetteville, and I seen Davenport just get on the wheel and drive around Earl Pearson. But it's kind of like you have a Capital, and I mean, there's guys run good in Capitals and some don't. So you still had to make a difference to run well at that North-South shootout, and I think that there's still a part, because that the driver still plays a big role, I guess is what I'm saying.
I think so. I think as a driver, I've worked on my craft and got the experience now to win at that level. But you got to get everything right, and a lot of it's experience. Like I'm going to these deals. You take like a Bobby Pierce or one of them boys coming into this deal that are really talented young and upcomers, but they go to those races and they're just kind of hit and miss because they don't have the experience. And then you take I've been running late models since 2003, so I'm 12 years now, so I've got to go to North-South, 12 times.
It's
that
hard
helps,
to beat that.
or where Scott's been there 30 times. So, or
Yep.
one of those guys, Billy Moyer's been there maybe 30 times. So, all that plays in. But yeah, I think you got to have the experience to go along with your chassis, and but you definitely, like I said earlier, sadly enough, the cars kind of took over more of a role than it used to. So it really means more than anything does.
Perfect. Well, Mike, before we let you go, I want to talk about that little rat rod that I've been seeing pictures of.
That's my hot rod.
Driving that down the main streets.
I'm going to have to check this thing out. Tell me about this. I haven't seen no pictures.
It's beautiful.
Well, over the winter, we had about a foot of snow, and I got a towing company, and I was having to hang around the shop just to be there, And so I had bought that old body, wanting to play with it and get it going. And I said, man, I'm going to fire it in and do this deal. And I worked my butt off on it, and I was down there, and my dad's got a salvage yard, so I was down there in the snow dragging out parts and just doing whatever I could do to make it happen. And my wife, she would go up and hang out with me while I was working on it. It was just a fun project, and we got it done. We went around to some old car shows and played with it and drove around town a few times, went to the grocery store a few times. But
That's awesome.
It's pretty cool. We've had a good time with it, and it's just funny. It gets a big kick everywhere you go. And, it's just no hunky junk, but like if it was sitting there beside a brand new Corvette, they'd just soon look at it, So it's pretty
That's
funny.
awesome. That is cool.
Well, it's really cool. Well, Mike, we appreciate you being on the show, and we're going to send you some Slingin Dirt mojo since you've been in the top 5 and the top 3. We're hoping that you get that win here real soon. And thanks for being on the show, and give Stacy a hug for me.
Okay, guys. Thanks for having us on. Appreciate it.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Hey, I want to, before we go to break,
Yeah.
I want to correct. I got with Kenny Wallace. Dick
Uh-huh.
Trickle only had 500 to 600 wins.
Oh.
So 800 is pretty crazy.
That's pretty intense then.
That
Not
is.
10,000.
I knew. Listen, Dick Trickle won tons of short track races, but anyways.
Love it. Dale McDowell and Tyler Dippel join us next here on Slingin Dirt on MRN.com.
Slingin Dirt returns in 1 minute on MRN.com.
Race fans, you know there's nothing like the power, excitement, and sounds of NASCAR. Ever wonder what it would be like to strap yourself in the seat of an authentic NASCAR race car? You can do it at the Richard Petty Driving Experience. Ride along or drive yourself at one of 15 tracks nationwide. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit online at drivepetty.com. Richard Petty Driving Experience. It's authentic NASCAR entertainment. Call 1-800-237-3889 or visit drivepetty.com to reserve your experience.
Looking for a great spot for an affordable beach vacation or the perfect romantic retreat? Let the Plaza Resort and Spa help. A vacation on the world's most famous beach is sure to help you reconnect with the ones you love. Discover the grand tradition of hospitality and service on Daytona Beach. The Plaza Resort and Spa is the perfect choice for any type of getaway. Book online at plazaresortandspa.com or call 1-855-DB-PLAZA. That's 1-855-327-5292.
This is Slingin Dirt on MRN.com. Now back to Ashley and David Stremme.
Welcome back to Slingin Dirt. We're your hosts, Ashley and David Stremme. Now on the hotline, he's the driver of the 17M Team Dillon Racing Machine. It's Dale McDowell. Welcome to the show, Dale.
Thanks, guys. How you doing?
We're doing great. How are you doing?
I'm doing great. Can't complain.
So tell me, my first question, I was looking over your bio this morning. Well, please tell me where you live in Georgia. Chicka what?
Chickamauga.
Chicka?
Everybody, it's pronounced just the G-A at the end, Chickamauga instead of Chickamauga. But it's a little town in Georgia just south of Chattanooga. So just south of Chattanooga, Tennessee. That's my shop and everything is located there in Chattanooga, Tennessee. So, but I get a kick out of everybody trying to pronounce that name. So don't feel.
I
don't
knew
feel
I was
bad.
going to butcher it for sure.
Hey, we just had Mike Marlar on, and we were talking about, and it's been a topic I ask a lot of guys, and I judge your opinion very much with the state of late model racing and where it's at, and I feel your opinion's very valuable because you don't run a certain series. You run around and you're very successful at that. Where do you think the state of dirt late model is at?
Well, I've actually, David, I've been, since I'm part owner of a racetrack here in Chattanooga now at Boyd Speedway, and so I've kind of been on the promoter side of it, I mean, we've got people here that actually run it in a good group. But as far as the state of dirt late model racing or any type of dirt racing, it's going through some transitions, and the promoters are the weekly shows, are seem to be a struggle for a lot of the racetracks, and so I think some of the things that are accountable for that is getting young racers involved and replenishing the popularity or the driving side of it, the drivers and the popularity of the sport on a lower level. And the crate racing series have done it. The modified series is growing. I know you do a lot of modified racing, so you see that side of it. But it's going through the economical side of it has been a little tough. Now the specials seem to be, all the promoters that I talk to, the specials seem to be doing well, but the weekly stuff, is where we really depend on those race fans to, support us, because at the end of the day, you got to have racers there, and you got to have race cars there, but the whole thing is the show for the fans. And so getting a balance with that, and getting more and more people involved with it, and a lot of it is the youth that's coming in, and so I mean it's a tough deal to try to balance out, but it's you go to some races and it is packed out, and all your bigger events are still doing well, but we just really depend on the weekly fan base to support our weekly racetracks.
When you talk about the youth, and I didn't mean to cut you off, honey, but it's really neat traveling around. Something I seen, and it was really cool in the West Virginia, Eastern Ohio area. They call them mini wedges, and they're basically a go-kart with a cage, and they put a dirt late model body on them, and they run them before the regular show starts. So it gets the kids going. They get a trophy, or they might get a little bit of money. I don't know, but man, they in that area, there's like 20, 25 of them, and I thought it was awesome. And I had a friend from the Midwest that was there, and they're like, this is really cool because it allows the kids to get to the track. They're part of it. They get to hang out with their mom and dad or whatever it is, and then they get to see the bigger shows, and it helps that growth. And but it's one of the things I've seen too where, and maybe you could touch on this, like we're going to have Tyler Dippel on, and they've said he's been 15 for the last 3 years. And I've seen it go through asphalt where a kid will go from, say, go-karts, and they're like, all right, we're going to go right to a crate late model or then to a super, and there's not that, hey, we're going to go run weekly at Boyd in a street stock car, and then we're going to get into a limited late or something like that. Wouldn't you say there's been kind of they jump quite a bit now?
There is. I mean, what's happening is, the kids, they start out in the karting, but then they actually start putting them in cars at 10, 11, 12 years old. I mean, we had Chase Elliott in a car at North Georgia at 11 years old.
Yeah.
Bill would come down and make laps in there, and we were doing some schools and stuff. And Chase, he had Chase in a car at 11. And then I think he raced some when he was, he practiced a lot, but he raced some, I think, when he was late 12 or early 13, in full-body crate cars. The problem that I see with the crate racing series is it's so popular that it pays good money. The purses are up there.
Yep.
So you take a lot of the veterans that don't travel and don't run super late model anymore will back up and run the crate stuff. Well, then when they do that, it's very, very hard for the young guys to step in, and be able to compete with them, as a learning series. So, I mean, we're actually talking about doing like a sportsman type series for maybe crate motors on 2-barrel or 602 crates or something like that. Something that, I mean, I got a boy that's 13, and like when I try to get him, wanting to start him if he wants to race, you struggle. Karting first, obviously, but then where do you go next? The street stock stuff has got so expensive, that people are actually seeing that they can actually go buy a used crate car or a used modified, or something like that, and start the kids in that. So I think it's just going to be up to the promoters to try to work together and build a stepping stone series, something that doesn't pay that much to win. so that it doesn't attract the veteran drivers to come down, and build a car to come run those events. But it's definitely a balancing act. I love it. I mean, I like being on this side of it, and being able to try to figure out, what it's going to be like. Because I love seeing the young kids. When we do the driving school stuff, I see all the young kids come through, and it makes me think back to, where we started and how it just makes you step back and relive kind of what you went through.
That's
pretty cool.
When you talk about the school, and I told my wife this, I said, I obviously you've won the dream, and I remember you won down there at Speed Weeks, and but I was like, man, he has taught so many people and got them interested in dirt racing. Obviously, you've done both Ty and Austin Dillon, but who are some of the other people that you've helped out, just say in driving and introducing them into the dirt world?
Well, we've had a lot of young, a lot of young talent that come through, and then we actually, with my brother being kind of running everything over at Team Dillon Racing, we do a lot of young people. I mean, like now we're working with Anna Parker. She's through TDR. Kate Dallenbach. They're running some races here at Boyd's and then taking them crate racing some. So being able to develop, take what they can learn on dirt. If they want to run asphalt, and obviously everybody, that's their main goal. NASCAR racing, go NASCAR racing, and that's great. So what we try to do is just as they start out on karts, and then when they come into the dirt, is being able to take the loose feel in a dirt car and some of the techniques that will help them when they go asphalt racing. And you've had to adjust where you come up on asphalt, and you had to adjust to the dirt, and so the driving style switch is good. But a lot of the young people, I mean, we have lots of young people come through, and being able to direct them and teach them the difference in the braking, and whether it's a tight corner place, a long corner place, high bank, low bank, just the different scenarios that they're going to go through as far as track configurations, and if they want to go asphalt racing. But it's pretty cool. How I got involved in all this is Tony Stewart called and had actually sent Harvick down when they were running the Prelude, and actually at that point in time, Tony was having to get cars together for the Cup drivers to drive.
Yep.
And so anything they tore up, he was having to pay for it. So he called me and he's like, "Hey, can you do something with Kevin? He's tore up a couple of cars." And so it was pretty cool because Kevin came down, and so working with the guys that had no dirt experience whatsoever, to be able to to make that transition and be able to run a dirt car, and it's challenging. I mean, I know I don't have to preach this to you, but the dirt racing, chasing track conditions, they change so much. It's so challenging, and I think that helps them, as they move up through their career.
It does. It's something that I know. I mean, I preach it all the time, which we had a farmer on the show, and he said no. But I said, you almost got to be a farmer, watch this dirt and the type of dirt and the moisture it's holding and all this. I'm like, man, I ain't used to this on the asphalt. We're just there all day burning up tires, and you just got to watch if it rubbers up or not. But it is very different, and it's definitely got me a new appreciation and really kind of refired my inside a little bit because the asphalt stuff was burning me out, and I love it. You can travel around and do stuff. And speaking of traveling, we have I want to throw this out there, being that you're talking about the promoter side, is we have a new Southeastern modified series starting up and with Steve Summerlin and them. And I told him, I said, look, you need to go over to that Boyd Speedway or talk to them. I'd like to travel over that area and run some modified. So keep that in mind and see how that goes here later in the year.
I would love to do that. Modifieds in this area never really, the crate stuff has been strong. But now we have modifieds west of here, over toward Nashville, Clarksville area.
Yep.
So they're a couple hours west, and then over, toward the Carolinas, which is, not that far, 2 or 3 or 4 hours from here. So I would love. I actually had talked to some of the UMP guys. Like if entertaining the thoughts of when they come to Clarksville, Tennessee, or something coming down in any type of racing that's a new, kind of venue that you can introduce to your race fans that's challenging. I mean, because I was able to travel and run the World of Outlaw Series and the Lucas Series there for several years, and so I'm trying to take what the good things that I've seen at all these racetracks, and what they were doing with their up and coming classes, their learning classes and all that stuff. Trying to take that and apply it just to build a good core support.
What is I didn't mean cut my wife off. She's about ready to kick me underneath here. I would really like to know, with all your traveling, because you don't travel as much now, what is the one place that you would really like to go back to that you haven't been to in probably 4 or 5 years?
I love going, like up to Cedar Lake Speedway up in Wisconsin. I won some races up there years back. I like a lot of the Midwestern tracks, the Iowa tracks, and and it's kind of crazy how when you go to those places, I cut my teeth right here. There's probably
red clay too.
Right. That's right. That's exactly right. So I cut my teeth right here in the Chattanooga area, and there's probably 12 racetracks within a 2 or 3 hour radius of Chattanooga. So I raced around here, but when I would go to Iowa or Illinois or any of those places, they would kick my tail, and so it was, like you talked about earlier, the dirt, that black dirt up there, when it polishes off, it gets just like ice, just super slick. So I like going to those places, now. I mean, it's challenging. You want to go back. Your bank account don't like you going there to race because the payoff's usually not good, but I was able to get some success in those areas and go, and so now I'd like to go back out in the Midwest, which I go to Knoxville every year. I mean, our schedule this week we'll go to Batesville, Arkansas, and then Bulls Gap, and then back, and we'll go to Knoxville here at the end of the month, and or first of next month, and we'll do some of that stuff. So we kind of keep it scattered out a little bit. So I get a little bit of it anyway.
Well, Dale, I don't know if you have a nickname, but I'm dubbing you the Master of Dirt. Between being a racer, owning a racetrack, being a promoter, having a school, which one is your favorite hat to wear?
Well, obviously the racing. I don't want to turn. I mean, I'm 49. I'm in my late 40s, so I'm trying to lay some groundwork for down the road so I can stay involved in the sport. But that's hard, man. We don't want to hang our helmets up, So the racing side of it is still. I mean, like when I go to Volusia, when I'm down there with you guys at Speed Weeks, and you guys are racing, and and I'm working with Austin and Ty and helping and doing that stuff. I can't wait to the end of the week when I can run my lake mile. Mm-hmm. So the racing side of it is still burns inside me, but I do enjoy, like when I'm on the grader over there at the racetrack and I'm changing the lineup or changing the racetrack, up a little bit or something. I love doing that side of it, and I really like doing the school stuff because the learning curves now, these young racers really, that they don't realize how easy they have it now, because now the learning curve is 2 to 3 years to obtain the same knowledge that it took us 6, 7, 8 years to do. There's just so much more information out there, so much more knowledge on the cars and the adjustments. So now you can pick up the phone and you can say, hey, I'm going to Carolina Speedway, what do I do? Or I'm going to Bulls Gap up in Tennessee, what do I do? Or I'm coming, down here somewhere, and you can get information to where, and people can kind of tell you how to drive those type places. That's a wheel spin place. That's a controlled wheel spin place. They can tell you that type of information, and so I like studying it. So but I'm gonna race as long as I can.
Absolutely.
Hey, you still got a lot more years left, and we look forward to seeing you out there. And I'll tell Steve Summerlin get a hold of you. Maybe if they do that. Listen, if they do that, I'll get. We got customers in Western Tennessee. We'll get some cars there and make sure you got a good show. So we'll see what we can do on that. But anyways, thanks again for being on the show.
Thanks for joining us today. We appreciate it.
Thanks you guys for having me.
Good luck.
I want to do real quick before we. I know we need to take a break.
You
and stuff.
have been just.
I want to do
a
round. I want to do a round table, and I would love to have Dale McDowell and Steve Francis, and I'll even just have some different guys. Yeah, because I think there's so much knowledge there, and they've traveled around and
they've seen it all.
And one thing I can say about 95% of people that's on our show, they're so passionate about it, and that's what's awesome.
Well, if they weren't, they wouldn't be a part of it.
And the next guy's learning a lot.
He's going to be just as passionate. Tyler Dippel joins us next on Slingin Dirt on MRN.com.
Slingin Dirt returns in 1 minute on MRN.com.
The latest winner in the NASCAR Canadian Tire Series over the weekend, Alex Tagliani.
This is NASCAR Coast to Coast.
One race, you guys did it all, hook, line, and sinker.
Racing in NASCAR, it doesn't come easy. You know, when you've done that all your life, it's second nature. For me, I really love it. It's a challenge, right? I mean, when I'm in the car, I have to really, really be concentrating all the time and be disciplined to drive the car to whatever it wants to be, you know, driven.
NASCAR Coast to Coast every Tuesday at 1 Eastern on MRN.com. This Wednesday night, join the Motor Racing Network for MRN 360. It's a full circle look at the sport of NASCAR, hosted by Steve Post. This 1 hour show will take you from the track into the lives of your favorite drivers.
Can't guarantee anything, that's why we run the race.
Even the fans have a voice on MRN 360.
Personally, the guy doesn't belong in NASCAR. I think he's too hot-headed.
It's MRN 360 this Wednesday night at 7 p.m. Eastern on the Motor Racing Network. This is Slingin Dirt on MRN.com. Now back to Ashley and David Stremme.
Welcome back. You've joined the David Stremme Show.
Yeah, you're on me. She told me she didn't have much for McDowell to begin with, so
I still have
questions. And it's like I said, I got a lot of respect for what he has to say because he's been around, he's doing a lot. I think a lot of people can learn from him, so I'm sorry.
It's okay.
They didn't want to know, hey, what car are you running? Hey, what's this? Or
I didn't ask him any of that.
He's been a North-South shootout. He run good, so.
Good God Almighty.
That's why I wanted him on the show. You know, I'm the one that, it was my idea. But anyways,
who
go
got
on.
a hold of him? That's right.
Just like the next guy was my idea to have on the show.
And who also got a hold of him?
I know.
That's right, I did. Where are your notes, by the way?
I don't have any. Let's go.
Okay. Joining us now is young gun hot shoe Tyler Dippel. Thanks for joining the show, Tyler.
I'm happy to be here. Thank you for having me.
So I want to just roll right off the bat real quick. I don't want to talk about it long, but I want our listeners to understand the adversity that you've gone through these last few months. You had a freak accident with your trailer. You ended up with a broken pelvis. How hard was it for you to sit out and just watch everybody race?
Oh, that's obviously the toughest thing when you're a racer. All you want to do is just climb back in the car, but I was out on the sidelines for probably just a little over 10 weeks, but I'm feeling all right now, and I'm all healed up, and we've been racing for a while, so that's been good. Healed up, all good, and I'm back racing now.
Well, that's for sure. I mean, just because you were out, it surely didn't slow you down at all, because Grandview, 25th to 6th, and you did not have a very good night to roll off with. Is that correct?
Yeah, that's correct. It was a brand new car, and normally sometimes when you build a brand new car, it has a lot of bugs, and we just had a lot of bugs to work out that night, and we got them all worked out for the feature, and we came forward through the field there in a short race, so I was happy with it.
So last year I got to know who Tyler Dippel was because of Matty Hearn. Is he still helping you?
Yeah, Matt Hearn's still the crew chief. He helps us out a whole lot.
You make sure you give him a hard time. He needs it.
What happened?
I said you make sure you give him a hard time because he needs it.
Oh, don't worry. I always do.
So then, anyways, I watched it at World Finals, and it was, I mean, you were up top looking like Stuart Friesen up top there, and I mean, I'm like, this kid's going to get the win, you know? And then I learned a little more. You went asphalt racing a little bit, and you've done that, and then we followed you this year and had quite the year so far, but what made you want to go asphalt racing?
Just, try something different, try and work into moving up into the bigger stages, I wanted to try asphalt racing, and I think we're still going to try some next year, and not really sure what exactly the plans are for next year, but I just really like it, and, if you want to move up, I mean, you got to go asphalt racing.
You think it helped your dirt program when you win, or?
Yeah, I think running both helps you, like, both of the different ones help you in different aspects of, it's really hard to explain, but I think running both helps you better as a driver for sure.
Yep, I agree with you totally with that, because I think there's a lot of things you can learn from both. But so when you're running the big block cars, center steers, what do they call them, buses, or there's so many names for them, but who is somebody that you look up to, or that you're like, man, this is so cool, I get to race against him?
Probably Brett Hearn's probably the biggest one that I get to race against almost every week. look up to him a lot in the big blocks. He's just pretty much accomplished everything in those cars.
You mentioned Brett Hearn. Are you headed to the Big Show 7 tonight? Or I guess it's tomorrow night.
Yeah, we got our car all ready to go, and we're ready to go to the Big Show tomorrow night, and hopefully we'll do pretty good there because that's one of my favorite tracks to go to.
Well, that's what I was going to ask you. What is the place all year that you go, man, I really look forward to going here?
Yeah, probably Albany, Saratoga for the Big Show 7 is probably one of the favorite places I like to go. I like to go to Lebanon Valley also, and there's just a couple places, you just love to go back to every week.
Now, I know you're still rather young. I believe you're 15. Where did you get your start? Did you start running in go-karts? I mean, you just didn't jump in a big block mod, did you?
No, I started in these cars called Slingshots. They were kind of like a scaled-down version of a modified, and then started moving up in like the dirt modifieds. Got like a sportsman car, and then a small block, and then eventually a big block modified, and then started doing some super late model asphalt stuff, and just been moving up from there.
With them Slingshots, I never heard of them until I went up to the Ohio, West Virginia area, and I was like, man, I said, these little things here, they get after it. And then I watched one wreck, and it looked like it was like a wreck from Talladega. Tell me a little bit about them cars. I mean, them things it's pretty phenomenal at how fast they get going and what they do.
Oh, yeah, I think they were a great learning tool. They move pretty good. I think the biggest thing in those things was it teaches you to be real smooth, and it taught me to be real smooth in those cars, and they were a great learning tool just to start out with.
That's awesome. And they have indoor races with them, too. Have you ever ran the indoors in the Slingshots?
No, I never was able to really run an indoor race in a Slingshot because I was always too young.
So what's the rest of the schedule look like this year? We're going to see you back at the World Finals, or you got Syracuse, all them?
Yeah, we're putting together a deal for Syracuse. I think in 2 weeks we're putting together a deal with Lyra Motorsports to run Springfield and the Declan Fairgrounds in the ARCA Dirt Series.
Wow.
Awesome.
And I'm really looking forward to that. Just more with the dirt program and our big blocks. We're going to be back at Syracuse, back at the World Finals, and just hit more of the series races. And I think in the super late model, I think we're planning on running the Oxford 250 with Jamie Yelton there, and just got a real packed schedule.
Wow. I
want to put you on the spot. We've had a lot of younger guys that are making the transition from dirt to asphalt, but a lot of them will still say they love the dirt. Can that be held true for you?
I mean, I don't really know. I like both aspects of them. I couldn't really choose if I had to pick one. I really love them both.
It's just longer days, I think.
Yeah, I think just in the asphalt, it's just longer days, and just the way you drive them, you just got to be really, really consistent every single lap. Like, normally you hit the same line in dirt, you're always searching around.
Well, when you go to Oxford 250, don't be finding no dirt there because they got big mounds of it. And it's actually a really cool show, the Pass North, and to a lot of the dirt fans that don't know, the Oxford 250, it's almost, I would say, like the Dream Race or the World, or it's big in the New England area, and a lot of guys have gone there and run. I know Kyle Busch went a few years ago. I've always wanted to go. It's a really cool place. So to get to run that is going to be pretty phenomenal. So if you just make the show, is really big because they get a ton of cars, and but just stay out of them dirt piles, man. I don't know. Have you ever been there?
Yeah, actually, one of my first races, I went there last year and finished sixth in that race. So I'm looking forward to going back this year.
Well, you make it sound easy. That's for sure. But how many more other, or I should say, how many other asphalt races you think you run? You go Winchester, Indiana. You go to any other place?
I'm not really sure this year because we're not really in points for anything. We might. I think we're planning on running the Governor's Cup. I'm almost positive with Anthony Campany Racing and the Snowflake Derby. Yep.
I'll tell you, the big block cars though look awesome to run. I mean, and to me, the World Finals, and I got a lot of late model friends, and of course my wife's a big sprint car person, but I like watching the big block cars. They put on a whale of a show. I mean, they look very difficult to drive. They're real heavy. I mean, a lot of power. Is that something that is what made you go to the big block cars, or is it because it's so difficult?
Yeah, pretty much. I mean, and that's like all they race up here by us, and they're just really fun. They're really hard to drive because you got a lot of motor and just they're pretty heavy compared to everything else, and they're hard to drive, but they're so much fun.
That's awesome. Well, I appreciate you coming on the show here. I mean, you make sure you get a lot of racing in the rest of this year because you missed a little bit, and it sounds like you do have a full plate there.
Yeah, thank you. I appreciate you guys for having me.
Absolutely.
And, hey, you make sure you give Maddie a hard time, all right? You don't be letting him get off real easy. He needs to work.
Tell him we said hello.
All right, I'll tell him you guys said hi.
Hey, real quick, though, what'd you have him doing? Like, do you have him cleaning toilets or doing anything like while you were off?
I mean, yeah, I guess that's what the boss tells him to do.
That's awesome. I love it.
Oh, goodness gracious.
Well, hey, thanks a lot again.
Tyler. We appreciate it.
Yeah, thank you.
I love it.
I'll tell you, he's just so laid back. He's like, yeah, I'm going to go to the Oxford
young
250.
Yet, though.
I should have asked him how many years he's been 15, because I heard he's been like 15 for 3 years.
I don't think that's a topic many want to
not really,
talk
but
about.
But
I can't blame him. He wants to race, and
he's going to do
the
a
only
lot
way
of
he
that.
can do it. Yeah,
he's going to DuQuoin in an ARCA car. I think, and it's interesting. I listened to him, and he's like, oh, I like both and this and that. And I'm like, dude, you're getting to race everywhere. And he's just like, I don't care. I just want to race, you know. And I think having that mentality helps him quite a bit because it's not like he's going, you know, like I was saying, that Oxford 250 is very, very hard race to make. And, I mean, they used to get like over 100 cars. I'm not sure really what they get for an amount. But he's just like, yeah, I run 6 there. And I'm like, man, you make it sound easy, you know. But it sounds like he's got a lot of natural talent, which we got to see a lot at the World Finals.
Yeah.
I mean, it was crazy.
He's and he's got Matt. I mean, not to brag on Matt, you know, I mean, we've mentioned him 7 times now, but he, with being with Brett for the years that he's with him, and then Stuart Friesen, I mean, the kid's a genius.
But I think
he truly
Matt
is.
How old is Matt?
Oh, probably 23 or 4-ish. Maybe he might be 26.
I'll tell you, he's very.
I'm not sure.
I think he reminds me a little bit. You just don't hear much of him, and you hear him in big block world, but he could come down here and very well be a really good crew chief in the NASCAR ranks.
He's very knowledgeable.
He's very dedicated. He's been around some really good teachers, and maybe we need to have him on the show. We need to have him on the show sometime.
Absolutely. And I think he understands the car. You know, his parents own Tio, so he understands what it takes to make that car work.
Yeah. But anyways, hey, we have the topless coming up at Batesville this weekend.
Yes, 40 G's on the line.
40,000. I wonder, probably Davenport's got the biggest bullseye on him ever. But
somebody tweeted, I forget who it was, but it was hilarious. They tweeted a Brinks armored truck and said Davenport's new toter home.
Hey, for all the Superman haters, I'm just going to tell you, that guy, he's just awesome.
Everybody
he's so
hates
down
a
to
winner.
earth. I mean, it's not like anybody can walk up and talk to him. So I wish him the best of luck. But anyways, Batesville this weekend. We got
Hearn's Big Show 7.
Brett Hearn's Big 7.
The hunt continues for USMTS.
And make sure to, big week for Knoxville for the Wing Sprint cars. Check it out.
Speaking of Wing Nation, join Posty and me next right here. And thanks for joining us. The Stremmes here on Slingin Dirt later today.
Love it. Mean it.
Yeah, you can find us in the media center at mrn.com and iTunes.
This has been Slingin Dirt with Ashley and David Stremme. Listen every Tuesday at 11 Eastern on MRN.com for more news, interviews, and opinion from dirt tracks all over America. Slingin Dirt is a production of the Motor Racing Network. All rights reserved.